Welcome to a deep dive into the really complex world of cyber conflict. Today, we're sifting through a whole stack of sources that paint, well, a pretty vivid picture of digital threats.
And it shows a much more intricate, multi-directional battle than you might initially think.
Exactly.
Our mission today is really to cut through that noise, give you a clear understanding of the sophisticated techniques, the targets, and some genuinely surprising strategic shifts we're seeing.
Think of it as your shortcut to getting up to speed on this critical space.
Right, because it's constantly evolving.
Okay, let's unpack this. You often hear about cyber attacks as, a one-sided thing, but these sources reveal a real digital arms race. We'll start with Operation BarrelFire, a campaign targeting Kazakhstan's energy sector.
Yeah, Operation BarrelFire. This one's attributed to a new group called Noisy Bear, possibly Russian-linked, active since around April 2025.
Okay.
And what's particularly insightful here, I think, is their mastery of social engineering. They really went after employees of KazMunayGas, KMG, that's Kazakhstan's state oil and gas company.
How exactly?
Well, by mimicking official internal comms, things like policy updates, maybe salary adjustments, stuff people expect to see.
Right, things you wouldn't immediately question.
Exactly. And, crucially, sent from a compromised KMG finance email address.
Oh, wow. So if you're an employee, it looks completely legitimate coming from finance.
Totally legitimate.
Yeah.
So the infection chain kicks off with that phishing email. There's a ZIP attachment.
Okay.
And inside that ZIP, you find a Windows shortcut file, an LNK file.
Right, the LNK file looks harmless, but it's not.
Not at all. It executes malicious code. And they even bundle it with a decoy document. And get this, a re80me.txt with instructions in Russian and Kazakh.
That's a serious level of detail just to build trust. Very tailored.
Very tailored. So that LNK file then drops more payloads. There's a PowerShell loader they call DownShell.
Using PowerShell, a legitimate tool. Sneaky.
Yeah, using built-in tools to hide. DownShell ultimately deploys a DLL-based implant. A DLL is, well, basically executable code.
And that implant can launch a reverse shell.
It can, which means the attackers get a remote control connection right back to the compromised machine. Full access.
So multiple stages, lots of obfuscation, makes it hard to spot initially.
Incredibly difficult, and it gives them persistence. It's also worth noting the infrastructure for this.
Yeah.
Hosted on Russia-based AISA Group.
The same AISA Group the U.S. sanctioned back in July 2025.
That's the one. Sanctioned for enabling malicious activities. Adds another layer to the picture.
Okay, so that's highly targeted espionage. But then we shift gears a bit. Our sources also detail campaigns by Ghostwriter or UNC Lone 151, Belarus aligned.
Right, Ghostwriter. They've been active against Ukraine and Poland again since around April 2025.
And how do they operate? What stands out with them, especially looking at their tactics in Poland?
Well, this raises a good point about adaptation. They still often rely on things like rogue ZIP and RAR archives.
Standard stuff?
Kind of. For Ukraine, it might be XLS spreadsheets with a VBA macro, a little embedded program dropping a DLL to collect system info. But for Poland, they've made a really interesting pivot. They're surprisingly using Slack.
Slack, the communication tool.
Yeah, Slack as a beaconing mechanism, for command and control, and also as a channel to exfiltrate data.
That is fascinating. Using a legitimate service like Slack, they're basically hiding in plain sight, blurring the lines.
It bypasses a lot of traditional defenses. It suggests they're prioritizing maybe operational continuity over absolute stealth.
A bit less sneaky, perhaps, but more reliable for them.
Potentially. They also dropped a Cobalt Strike beacon that's a common penetration testing tool, often repurposed by attackers. These little tweaks suggest they're constantly experimenting, trying to find what works best for reliable comms and data theft.
Okay, so we've looked at some pretty sophisticated state-aligned stuff, but it's not all one way, is it? The tables get turned.
Absolutely not. Our sources show a significant number of recent attacks against Russian companies and individuals. This is definitely not a one-sided conflict.
So who's hitting targets in Russia?
Well, Old Gremlin, for one. They've renewed extortion attacks on Russian industrial enterprises. And they're using some advanced techniques.
Like what?
Like bring your own vulnerable driver, BYOVD.
BYOVD. Okay, break that down.
Basically, they exploit flaws in legitimate software drivers already on your system. They use your own system's trusted components against you, often to disable security software.
Wow, turning your own defenses off.
Right. They're even using the legitimate Node.js for malicious scripts. Again, hiding in plain sight.
That sounds advanced, but also kind of risky for the attackers, maybe?
It's a calculated risk, yeah. but bypassing security can be worth it for these groups, especially financially motivated ones.
And speaking of theft, there's Phantom Stealer. What's the story there?
Well, Phantom Stealer is an info stealer based on an open source tool, but what's particularly, disturbing about this one is its porn detector module.
Porn detector, what does that do?
It captures webcam screenshots when users visit pornographic sites, the likely use, sextortion.
It's pretty alarming and very personal.
Extremely. And we're seeing others too, like Cloud Atlas, Phantom Core, also targeting Russian organizations. It's a diverse threat landscape hitting Russia as well.
And then there's Android malware.
Yeah, a new one. It pretends to be an antivirus tool from Russia's own FSB or their central bank.
Classic social engineering, using trust in official bodies.
A textbook targets Russian businesses. It's all in Russian. Once installed, it asks for huge permissions.
Like what?
Like exfiltrating data from messengers, browsers, streaming from the camera, logging keystrokes. It even tries to protect itself from being deleted. It's a full-on surveillance tool.
Okay, so pulling all these different threads together, sophisticated phishing, using Slack, BYOVD, even this really personal sextortion angle. What's the big picture here?
Well, the main takeaway for you, I think, is just how incredibly fluid this global cyber landscape is. Threat actors are constantly adapting, innovating, repurposing tools.
It's not just about who's attacking whom anymore.
No, it's also about how these methods are evolving. It reflects this persistent, really dynamic battle for information, for influence, for leverage. It's constant change.
So, a final thought then, for you listening. Given this incredibly complex, fast-moving web of attacks, how do we, as individuals, as organizations, get ahead of this?
Right, how do we move beyond just reacting?
Yeah. How do we start proactively anticipating the next surprising turn in what really is a digital arms race?